We're officially on submission. Adult fantasy that it's moving quite slowly at the moment.
It's another rejection.
What if I wrote the wrong book? What if I wrote a book that no one's gonna like?
Nah, that's not real.
Just feel a bit like Sisyphus just pushing boulders up hills. I think I've sunk 5 years into something that's not gonna get a book deal. We will keep going. Those are 3 of the biggest publishing houses in Australia. None of this feels real.
That was so cool. Oh my god, you guys are gonna see this vlog.
This was really hard to do. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Now if you saw my last video then you will know that my debut novel Theodora's Tea Shop is going to be published in July 2026. Theodora's Tea Shop is an atmospheric 1920s inspired adult fantasy novel about a young woman whose name is Dot who sets off for the city of Alliaster because she wants to learn magic from the witch Theodora who runs an illegal magic business out of the quaint facade of her tea shop. Dot is in her early 20s. She's timid and frugal, and she has, since she was 14, been ill. Dot's illness was inspired by my own experiences of chronic fatigue syndrome, which I had as a teenager, and the chronic problems with iron that I have had ever since I was a teenager. Spoiler for this video that you're about to watch, my iron rears its ugly head, kind of ironically, right at the point where I went on submission, but both of these things cause fatigue, and low iron causes dizziness and brain fog and all this stuff, and basically the confluence of my experiences with these things informed Dot's illness. However, Theodora, the witch, is bold and vivacious and confident. She's everything that Dot wants to be, and so Dot wants to learn magic from this woman. However, when Dot arrives in the city of Alliaster and when she arrives at the tea shop, heralds the bubbling up of Theodora's dark past, which threatens to topple Theodora's empire and take them both with it. There's also a charming little house spirit named Bellchamber, a Byronic and moody magician named Leo, a spirited and bold teenager named Rupert, there's a creepy demon who runs a department store, there's witches, there's found families. Back in 2020, when I came up with the concept for this novel, my jumping off point was, what if House Moving Castle were about 2 women and they were friends? There's a lot of heartfelt moments in here, but there's a few eldritch, creepy moments, gothic moments as well. It's basically everything I love in a novel. It is my heart novel. I love this novel so much. I'm so proud of it, and I have worked really, really hard on it over the course of the last 5 years. And it is available to pre-order now. I'll pop all the links in the description down below and in a pinned comment. You can also add it on Goodreads, you can add it on Storygraph. So in this video, I wanted to share that journey, particularly focusing on the period of time where I went on submission to publishers. So very, very quickly before we get into this massive vlog, how does one get a publishing deal and what was my journey up until this point? So in the English speaking market, in order to get a publishing deal, first you must get a literary agent, because the literary agent is the person who's going to submit your book to the various publishers. In order to get a literary agent, you need to first write the novel. I also have an entire vlog on the process of getting my literary agent, so if you want to watch that one, I'll link that as well. But essentially, best case scenario is that you will write a book, get an agent, your agent will submit that to publishers, and if you're very, very lucky, you will get an offer from a publisher to buy your book. They will offer you an advance for the book, so that's a sum of money, and essentially what happens with the advance is most authors don't tend to earn enough money to ever pay back that advance. So the advance is really important because A, it's kind of a litmus test for how much marketing push the publisher is going to put into the book, and B, it's generally the only money that authors earn because it's quite uncommon to sell enough copies to earn out your advance and then from that point on start earning royalties. If you're very, 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 very lucky, your book will go to auction, which means that essentially there's a bidding war going on, multiple publishers want your book, and then the price of the advance gets driven up. That, however, is an incredibly rare occurrence. I've wanted to be an author since I was a very, very small child. It has for me felt like the purpose of my life for most of my life. I started my first novel at about 16. I worked on it for many, many years. I queried it in 2020 and it failed dismally. So in 2020, when that other book failed, I picked myself back up again and I began loosely concepting this novel, Theodora's Tea Shop. I worked on draft 1 on and off for ages and finally finished it in May of 2022. Drafts 3, 4, and 5 came, each of them containing at least 3 passes of the novel. For all of these drafts up until draft 4, I rewrote the novel entirely from scratch each time, as in I opened up a new Word doc and from memory started typing. My process is involved involved and time consuming and a little bit ridiculous, and it was the only way that I could write this book to the quality that I managed to write it. In August of 2023, I started querying, which is to say I started sending out emails and snippets of my novel to literary agents, and by December of 2023, I signed with my agent Bailey. 2024 was a revision year. Essentially, Bailey has a beautiful eye for storytelling. She's a joy to work with. Finally, in August of 2024, I began draft 7. By September 2024, I was working on draft 7.5, which is where this vlog kicks off. It is right now 10:01 a.m. on the 6th of September. It is a Friday today, and I'm currently working on draft 7.5 of Project Teacup. And now I'm just doing another pass on it to make sure that the pacing is good, to cut out some words here and there. The book is currently sitting at 125,000 words. Today is Friday, and I'm hoping to submit this to my literary agent on Monday. I never expected to be in September of this year still working on the drafts before submitting to publishers. I thought this would only take a few months. Writing draft 6 of the book, which I also did this year, that was really tough. And then it took a little bit for my literary agent to get back to me, and now I'm working on draft 7. 7.5 is like a second draft, but it's just fine tooth work. I am terrified that this book is too much. It's too weird. Yeah, a couple times last week I just broke down crying because I was like, maybe the book is shit. I don't know. I do love this book. I'm really proud of it, but I think once you've given everything to a creative project, that's when you start to have these really big emotional responses. Happy Monday. I worked the whole way through the weekend, and I went to bed really stressed, and I had like the worst nightmares I've had in a really long time, and it was just like this like obscenely scary violent nightmare, and then I'd go into me trying to submit my book, but because I had accidentally printed the book in color, it wasn't good enough. You don't need a psychology degree to interpret that one. I'm a little bit stressed at the moment. I've been working almost non-stop on the novel since I got my feedback. I'm just sort of coming up against it because I have a lot of work to get done this week, and then Thursday is kind of taken out for me because I have to go to a hematologist appointment. I really wanted to send this off today so it could be done and then like take like a day off so I can sleep, but I don't think we're gonna get that at the moment. I have cut out 3,990 something words from this story, and to be clear, the story was already super tight before that. This is also the chapter that always tends to make me cry. So we'll see how we go. I think that's the 7th time that scene has made me cry. Made some really good progress last night. Let me pull up the spreadsheet. What did I do? 12,000 words left to edit of the 120,000 words total. I've managed to cut out 4,633 words from the story. I'm almost done. I am submitting today. Thank God for that. Draft 7.5 of the novel is complete. 121,010 words. I managed to cut out 4,505 words in this edit. With draft 7, I added a bunch of stuff in, like my literary agent encouraged me to add more to the world building. In the earlier drafts of the story, I was holding myself back because I didn't want to detract from the character moments, and I didn't want to have like world builder's disease and do too much, but I got a lot of encouragement to flesh out more of the world building, and it was so exciting because I had these elements of the world and I wanted to share them, but I just didn't think I had the space. I did a colossal amount of work on this in the past 5-6 weeks. Like basically I didn't stop working on this. This might be the final draft before we submit. I really hope so. Maybe I've added in a bloody terrible plot hole here and my literary agent will catch it, but I'm hoping that this is done. I feel pretty confident that this is done and ready to go. I'm grateful to be here, and I am going to send this email now, and we are done with draft 7.5 of this story. I think the very hardest part of this entire process for me is having the patience to wait. I submitted draft 7.5 of the novel almost a month ago. I think we're just shy of a month, and I know that my agent was out of the office for some of that. I'm very much a child of the digital age. I've been releasing YouTube videos since I was a literal teenager. I've been posting to blogs since I was 12. I'm so used to the kinds of media I work with being very instantaneous. I had a formal career in marketing where my organization would expect me to check the Facebook page at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday or 10 a.m. on a Sunday, because things can devolve so quickly on social media and you have to be on the front foot and it's immediate. But with publishing, it's such a different ball game, which I'm not used to. What's also quite tough here is that I put everything into these drafts. I end up working like 12 hours a day or more. I work nights, I work weekends, you know, I do everything. I put every second I can in to not only getting the draft done as quickly as possible for the sake of these very long timelines, but also I put everything I can into these stories. And so it's just this funny thing of like, you put everything into it and then you hear almost radio silence for such a long time. Obviously, when you write stories, there's no guarantee that you'll get anything out of it. There's no guarantee that you'll get published or you'll earn money or anything. I've put thousands of hours of work into Project Teacup and I feel like I am slowly going insane. In the meantime, I'll just be waiting here, fielding off questions of people asking me, so is the book out yet? These things over and over again, and it's like, the book isn't even submitted yet, I'm sorry. Like, it takes a long time, and I feel honestly really exhausted by this whole process. Instead of coffee spoons, I feel like I'm measuring out my life in times I've refreshed my emails. So I got a small update from my literary agent. She's going to be getting the book back to me in the next few days or maybe next week. Her feedback was lovely, very positive and excited, which is great, but it's not super clear yet whether that's going to be turn around and do draft 8, which I can do. I'm willing to do, but it could also be let's submit the novel. We have this, the intention is to hopefully submit the novel during the spooky season, during the Northern Hemisphere's autumnal season. Publishing tends to shut down in December and over Christmas, otherwise we'll have to wait until January and then submit then. My literary agent thinks that this might be a really good book to submit during the spooky season because it has some eldritch atmospheric vibes going on. I'm getting nervous. It's currently very late in New York, but my agent just got back to me with her thoughts on draft 7.5, so I'm gonna read that email now. Hi, Christy. Yay! This time, she only has just like 3 very short points of little things to tweak, like minor things, and she said that we are ready to go. Oh my god. Whether you decide to edit for these notes, I think the book is essentially ready to go. I'd love to send it out this month. Next steps are the submission list and letter, which I'll send to you for your approval next week, and after that it goes out. Some books take many months on submission. Some books are very quick. I'm not putting any expectations on anything. It simply will be what it will be, and I will not, or I will do my best to not stress out about it. A few days have gone past. I managed to do all of those little edits, just a couple of days of pottering around here and there, jumping back and forth in the manuscript, and I think I'm calling it draft 7.75 because I don't want to call it draft 8. It's draft 7 3/4. But I finished it, I sent it back to my literary agent. So to my great delight, on Saturday morning, I received the list of editors that we're going to be sending Project Teacup to. And I read the list of the editors actually while we were in the car on the way to go and see family, and we were driving along this highway that I've known ever since I was very little. Now, for those of you who don't know, and I assume it's most of you, I moved around a lot as a child, but I lived mostly in country, South Australia. Adelaide, the city where I now live, was quite a long way away to me. It was a really big, bustling city. I moved to a bunch of different towns in this kind of area, but the places I generally lived were so far away that they didn't have public transport. It was just dairy cows and open fields and barely any internet because of the reception being bad, and it was just very isolated and far away from everything. You know, to get to school was like a 40-minute, 50-minute bus ride. So I grew up in very small, very working class towns in South Australia, teenager in a context where no one around me had even finished high school. So that was my childhood. I was quite far away from everything. I didn't have any libraries near me. I just had a battered set of the Harry Potter books, and I read them and reread them and reread them. As soon as I had had this understanding that if there was a novel, there also had to be a person who had written it, that's what I knew I wanted to be. And I held on to this dream so boundlessly from such a young age. And honestly, when things were quite tough for me when I was little in school, beyond that, I held on to this so fiercely. This kind of idea that one day I would write stories, and I held this thing so close to my chest, and it basically saved me a lot. I had a tough time. And so during that tough time, I really held on to this dream, and for some reason that kind of pulled me through, even to the point where I remember when I was 16, I was working a job where I was the person at like the fitting room of a discount clothing store and department store in a very low socioeconomic area, like one of the lowest socioeconomic towns in the state. And I remember this so clearly, this customer who was kind of interrogating me as I was putting clothes away on the hangers in the fitting room, because for some reason retail customers tend to do this to children who are working. But she was kind of interrogating me on what I wanted to do with my life, and was I in school? And she said, well, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be? And I was 16. I didn't think to lie, I just told the truth. I said, I want to be an author. And I said it so earnestly and honestly. And this woman, she laughed at me so loudly. Like, she cackled at me. Like, it was kind of like shriek laugh, and she said, don't we all? And then she walked away. And that was that whole interaction, and it made me feel so small and so stupid, because again, this people who come from where I'm from don't strive for things like that. I once had a school librarian tell me to not bother applying to university. This is my context, right? This is why I bring up economics a lot. And this is not to lament that experience or complain about that experience. I feel really lucky to have had the experiences that I've had, and to, you know, have had the opportunity to go to university because I worked my way to get there. And, you know, I've lived overseas, I've been able to build a thriving small business, and I had a marketing career, and I've done a lot of really wonderful things I'm really grateful for. But this is just to be honest about where I came from and my experiences. But why I bring this up is because we were driving on this highway to see family, Tyler's family, who still live in one of the areas where I used to live, kind of in the countryside, not quite as far as where I used to live. And we're basically driving past this town where I used to work at the discount clothing store. And I'm looking at my phone, and I'm looking at a list of people who are going to receive my novel. And, you know, the big, huge publishing houses, as I'm driving through this town where I grew up, where people don't become authors, kind of this fortuitous and magical full circle moment, driving past these fields that I remember from when I was very small. Reading that list, and I just felt very proud and very excited. Yeah, it could be really slow. It could take 6 months, could take longer. It could die on submission. In this industry, there is no guarantee of anything. But again, just to circle back, to be in this position right now at all, even if the book fails, I feel really proud. I'm sorry not to be like over emotional and oversensitive, but like this was really hard to do. I have literally 2 minutes until my call with my literary agent. I didn't sleep last night. I am so nervous. The submissions are gonna go out after this call. Oh, where's my tea? Oh shit, it's 7:30. Hi, how are you? I'm really good. How's your day been? Yeah, wait. Yes, no, it is a silly time zone, but it is morning. Amazing. I had a bit of a gist of that. I had heard from someone else anecdotally who's on sub for adult fantasy that it's moving quite slowly at the moment, so I feel like I'm a little bit prepared for that. I suppose I wanted to ask, because I know that agents will sometimes do it differently, so how do you want to let me know that if like rejections have come through? Like just like as they come through, or? So sometimes books can be picked up really, really quickly. Sometimes it can be a matter of days. That's kind of like the 1%. So there's no point really hoping for it. The vast majority of books will take a lot longer. If the book does get some interest, it'll be a matter of that editor taking it to an acquisition meeting, I think, and then us maybe jumping on a call. Best case scenario is that multiple editors want it at the same time and it ends up being an auction, which can drive up the price of the advance. If the price of the advance gets driven up, it also means that the publishing house will put more into marketing, so it can be really, really good for your book to get a better advance. Apparently, fantasy is moving really slow at the moment, so again, I'm not expecting this to go quickly. Like, this is probably going to be a few months, and I just need to sit with that, and that is fine. Good, how are you? So, I actually have two things to tell you, which is kind of funny timing. Oh, no, like the only one thing is about the book though. As of 4 a.m. this morning, we're officially on submission. So, all 15 editors have my book. Yeah, I think she'll just forward everything through as it comes, really. Because like she said that basically before we even like make a deal, the editors would probably want to have like a meeting. They would want to make sure that I'm workable, but also I want to make sure I'm comfortable with them. So yeah, Bailey said like no matter what, you'll probably have a meeting with an editor before you sign a deal with them. So basically I said to Bailey, feel free to just send through any feedback as you get it, because yeah, I want it to be across everything. When I wake up, it is just after the workday has ended, which means that when we're in this position, like with querying, every morning I would wake up and just feel anxiety because I need to turn on my mobile data and see if I have responses. So I'm gonna do that now. I haven't checked yet. I need to not do this, right? Because this is probably gonna last for months. But let's turn on mobile data and see if there's an email from anyone. Getting a lot of Facebook messages. A whole bunch of regular emails, a whole bunch of work emails, and no writing emails. We are safe today. Smile.
So right now, laying the farthest reef we can go.
Hello, here we are. It's currently 6:20 a.m. in Cairns. We're about to be getting on a flight home, and we just got our very first rejection from a publisher, and they just said that it was a pass because they already had something similar on their list. And that is okay. We still have a whole list. I'm gonna go get on a plane and not exist for a while. Today is the 1st of November. And I woke up this morning and it was 2 very kind passes in the end. And I had some feelings this morning. In the grand scheme of things, it feels a bit silly to get so emotional about rejection, but what really surprised me when I started editing this video was how quickly into the submission process that I started spiraling. I thought I filmed this clip ages into the submission process. I didn't realize that it only took me 3 rejections to get to this point. I will say as well, I loved that trip to Cairns. It was a beautiful distraction that just happened to fall on the weekend after we went on submission. That obviously wasn't the plan. I had no idea when we were going on submission. I loved snorkeling snorkeling the Great Barrier Reef. That is an experience I will keep with me forever. I also obviously didn't know that my iron was going to be as bad as it was. So the snorkeling was genuinely fine. Had the opportunity to go scuba diving on that trip and chose not to because of the iron, which is a bit sad, but it's fine. I was fine. But it was the days after the snorkeling and I was just like physically burnt out, emotionally burnt out. The rejections just at this point hit me really, really hard. So once again, if you think I'm being a bit dramatic here, I probably am, but keep in mind this isn't just 3 rejections to me. This is hundreds of rejections. It's not just 9 days of being on submission. It is 5 years of work. It is 10 years of work. It is a lifetime of wanting something and the kind of terror of climbing a huge, enormous mountain over the course of 5 years and realizing if the book fails, I'm just gonna have to write another book. So it's just gonna be another mountain I'm gonna have to keep climbing. Like absolutely no celebration at getting to the top, no acknowledgement of the hard work. I couldn't tell you how many times I got up at 5 a.m. to write this novel, how many lunch breaks I worked through to write this novel, how many weekends I worked through. Like most creatives, I have a job, so every bit of writing I do around full-time work. By day 9 and 3 rejections in, you know, I am already 5 years deep on this journey. The last novel failed. I remember how that felt. So this is just basically so many years of hard work and effort and countless rejections on short stories. And I got rejected for a few fellowships during this time, and I dealt with some really snobby people and all of this whole mess of feelings and many, many years of anxiety around whether or not this was going to work. This all kind of came to a head during submission. Anyway, this is me trying to explain what might look like an overreaction to someone if they didn't have all of that context. Back to the video. I think in like going through the rejections at this point after a year of revising basically with my agent, and also just for me personally on like a health level, my iron has been really bad recently, and I've actually spoken about it a lot in videos at the moment, but having dealt with chronic low iron since I was like 16, like not as far as health problems go, not that significant. I've had so many tests, I've been to so many doctors and specialists, I'm absolutely fine. I just have low iron. Just a funny thing with my body. I treat it by getting iron infusions, and I'm very much due for another iron infusion. And so I feel really flat and really fatigued and dizzy and getting all of the low iron feelings, and so you feel like you're just like pushing through quicksand a bit. And so I think what's upsetting me right now is this kind of idea that I've put so much into this novel and maybe it's not as good as I thought it was. God, this is so dramatic, I'm sorry. Maybe it's not as good as I thought it was, and I'm gonna have to get up and go write another book. And that's fine. That's the industry. If that's the outcome that happens, that's okay. But I kind of sometimes just feel a bit like Sisyphus just pushing boulders up hills. I'm tired. I worked sorry. I worked really hard on this book. I'm really, really proud of it. And part of what's killing me with moving on to the next book is this idea that I have to put everything into a new project. And maybe no one will read that book either. Like it's as I said, just getting up and getting going on work in the mornings is hard at the moment because I feel so tired and fatigued. You go through these rejections and you start to think, maybe I am being silly for having put so much into this goal, which I know is very hard to achieve. It's the 1st of November and I'm gonna film a vlog of me writing Project Spiegel Tent. I'm gonna take a minute and then I'm gonna go walk to a cafe and go write some of Project Spiegel Tent. This is what I do. I go and bury myself in a story in a world that doesn't exist, and that is joyful, and that is the purest experience of fun and peace for me, is when I'm writing a story. So I'm not trying to be desolate, I'm just really tired.
So I drop it.
Yay!
Didn't even trigger the sensor.
It is 6:37 a.m. and we have a new email. I was gonna fill you guys in on a little clip last night of me saying this, but I kind of hate Tuesday mornings because for me Tuesday morning is the end of the first work day of the week, and so emails start coming in for me from Tuesday morning from the US. And I've not been sleeping very well since we started querying. I think of like the 8 days, 9, 10 days, whatever. I think I've had nightmares almost all of those nights. And I remember I had the same thing with querying where I just for months on end could not sleep. Like I would just wake up during the night, or I'd wake up like at 5 a.m, 6 a.m, like well before I really should be waking up because I go to bed late. But yeah, there's a new email and I don't want to open it because right now it's kind of Schrodinger's email, right? Like it could be great news, or it could be nothing, or it could be another rejection. Super overtired, stressed, flat. This feels way too dramatic. This feels, you know, we've only been doing this for just over a week and it feels a bit like it feels a bit too much, and I'm fine, I'll handle it, but I'm so stressed about this. I had a big old cry last night again because I just felt overwhelmed. You know, it's just this sense of, what if I wrote the wrong book? What if I wrote a book that no one's gonna like? What if I've wasted 5 years of my life and all of my hope, and hope is such a silly, stubborn thing. I don't want to open my emails. Let's just do it. It's probably nothing. It's probably a rejection. It's probably a rejection. It's another rejection. Oh, they look very cute. To be really frank with you, and I don't want to whinge and I don't want to be melodramatic, my mental health has not been good this week. Like I've cried, couldn't even tell you how many times. I feel really defeated and sad, and I feel like such a failure. Like these 4 rejections that have come through, I feel like I've felt them so strongly. Whatever happens with Teacup, it will be fine. I will write another novel, I will be fine. I'm at the point of my stress cycle with this that I have started sleepwalking. I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. And while we're on my favorite quotes of all time, Oscar Wilde, behind every exquisite thing that existed, there was something tragic. In this past couple weeks, I've had 4 rejections from publishers on Project Teacup. I missed out on getting a fellowship that I was shortlisted for. I also got a rejection on a short story, and that's, you know, 6 things that I really cared about and really wanted positive responses from, right? And these are things I've worked hard on. I worked hard on the short story, I worked hard on the application, I worked hard on the novel, and it's this interesting industry that we're in with writing where you make the entire thing and then you see if people want it. You put your heart and soul into stuff and you just get slapped down again and again and again. And I had this writing lecturer who used to say in my class that writing is an act of faith, and he didn't mean it in a religious way. It was just that you have to come into this thing with such blind faith that you're gonna achieve what you want. You know what? Out of that not getting that writing fellowship, you know, that kind of was the kick in the butt that I needed, because it made me, like, rather than just feeling sad and wallowy, it kind of made me annoyed because even though I was shortlisted, the rejection email was a bit cold, and that quite frustrated me. And so that was actually good. I think the frustration I felt over that one kind of kicked me out of the really sad feelings that I was having. But I'm really struggling with Spiegel Tent, and the main reason I'm struggling is because I feel a bit heartbroken about this last novel, because I'm starting to really feel like it's not going to get a deal. And all of this is exacerbated by the health problems I'm going through. I know if I didn't feel so tired because of the iron problems, I know it would be easier to get up and do my job every day. I feel like I'm pushing through cement at the moment. One of the characters in the book, I based her illness off of chronic fatigue syndrome, which I had as a teenager, and the low iron stuff, which I've had ever since I was a teenager. And, you know, it just feels a bit poetically. Darkly ironic that my iron stuff is coming to a head now, again, because it comes in cycles, because I get infusions, because it's chronically bad, but I kind of, you know, bail out the sinking ship of my iron by getting these infusions. And we'll keep going, and there's 16 other people on the list, and I dare say I'll hear from them at some point, and if they don't respond, we'll send it out to somewhere else, or we'll revise the book again. We will keep going.
Yeah, because I picked up my phone to check the time and then it was like your call. So the appointment's at 4, so I'll need to leave at like 22. I already have the iron. I got it on the way home. The joy is getting to share stories with people, right? I love writing. I'll keep writing, but ideally at some point I'd like people to be able to read my work. This is the ugliest banana bread I've ever seen. 45 minutes for the banana bread.
Hello, good morning. Hi, today is the 20th of November. I'm almost a whole week post iron infusion. I feel so much better. I think I was just kind of at the end of my tether a bit. I just started this new sinus medication. I had to take it every day and it was like really painful, and then the iron infusion stuff, I was just exhausted. But yeah, I'm like 6 days post iron infusion and I feel so good. I feel so clear. I have so much strength. And I'm also here to tell you that we have another email from my agent. Thank you for submitting the novel to me. We've just had the chance to read and consider it. The concept of the vines are wonderful, but it's not for us right now. Da, 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 da. Christy is a talent. Even if this one isn't for us, perhaps the next one will be. That's okay. That's okay. It has been officially 1 month since we sent out the submissions, and the really important truth here is that this is just publishing, and if Teacup doesn't get signed, I'll make something new. Teacup isn't dead, we might sign it later.
Sorry.
Turned on my mobile data and I noticed I have 2 emails come through. One is a forward from a publisher and one is from Bailey directly. So the way that publishing works is quite complex. When you have a literary agent, generally what will happen is they submit to publishers in the country where they live. So Bailey will submit to American publishers, American editors. However, they also have like a sister agency in the UK who organizes all their foreign rights. Well, I suppose it is technically foreign rights, I suppose, but basically the contracts for like UK, Australia. So in addition to being on submission in the US, we're probably going to be on submission in the UK and Australia. So the stress I've got for the US, let's just multiply that. Anyway, I asked Bailey a few questions about that, like just strategically and how does it work and all this stuff. And so I'll read that email, but I'll also read this email from the publisher. Here we go. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Go, hi Christy, a pass below from these people. Da 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 da. It just wasn't for them. That's okay. Yeah. Okay, I need to film this video. I feel stressed. Let's blast the aircon until we get started. As of tomorrow or the day after, my novel is going to be sent out to publishers in the UK and in Australia. It is a really, really hard time to get a publishing deal if you're not writing a trendy novel. In these very specific proven niches, it is hard to get your work published. I wrote the most authentic story that I could, and it's weird. It's weird, and it's about two women who are friends, and it's this vibrant world, but creepy stuff happens, and it's a very earnest, very emotional story that's character driven, and it's got found families in it. It's 1920s inspired, it's atmospheric. I like the book. It's exactly the book that I want to read, which is this marriage of speculative fiction and character fiction, but that's not going to be for everyone. The market is especially tough right now. Yeah, my mental health is like this at the moment. I'm pretty resilient as a person, I think, but it's just this gentle kind of feeling flat a lot of the time because I don't think the book is going to get a deal, and that's just self-preservation coming in. It is today, the 4th of December. We're going to be going to Japan in just a few days, which will be lovely. So both Tyler and I have been working insane hours in the lead up to that. The waiting game is constant and forever, and I just have to wait. And in the meantime, do my job and be okay and hopefully write a new book, but I still feel too sad and too scared to write a new book. I just think that whatever I write is going to be of that headspace, and I don't really have to want to read that back to myself. I swear to God, it's not writer's block, because I've said for so many years I don't really believe in writer's block. It is fucking heartbreak block. It is rejection block. It is, I think I've sunk 5 years into something that's not going to get a book deal block. Maybe I'm being silly, but I miss when I was like 22 and I wasn't as weather worn by this process and I didn't know how hard this was going to be. I miss just being able to open up a document and just write and not be bogged down by fear. Like, I feel like I know too much. I feel like I just want to go back to being gloriously unaware. And after this trip, and I give myself a decent break and I sleep for a while, I hope that I can come back with my sense of wonder and whimsy renewed. I hope I come back not feeling like this jaded shell of a creature. I hope I come back feeling more like myself. Because I don't really feel like myself at the moment. Okay, we're gonna start by taking some thumbnails and then we can get going on the video. Hello, Mr. Crow. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Welcome to Yoyogi Park. We're currently in Tokyo. I think by this point I was probably at my lowest. I was in Japan and I was so happy to once again run away to this place that I love. We had this beautiful trip where we went to the snow in Yuzawa Onsen, we stayed in a beautiful ryokan, and we visited this wonderfully bizarre seaside town called Atami, and we hung out in Tokyo, and I did my best to work on Spiegel Tent. But this trip was a band-aid over a bullet wound. I felt like I was in a period of mourning, and I was certain that the book was dead. As I said earlier, I really was carrying with me the weight of every single rejection I had so far faced. The agent who ghosted me for months back when I was querying and then told me that the book had to be rewritten entirely, the agent who told me to add a romance to the novel to make it viable, every form rejection, every criticism, every non-response, the woman who laughed at me when I was just a kid working minimum wage, but particularly the 16 months in between this point when we were in Japan and when I started querying back in 2023 has been the hardest of my career. Every single day the submission process stretched on, I found it harder and harder. And also, to be very candid, it made my job quite difficult because I didn't feel like talking about writing and I couldn't read. And when your entire job revolves around reading, writing, the things that are making you miserable and anxious, it meant that there was not a single second of any day where I could escape what I was feeling. Everything I do is about writing and books and reading and storytelling. Before I started querying, I got to live in this land of blissful unknowns. I know my previous novel failed dismally, but Theodora's Tea Shop was not that novel. That novel wasn't very good, whereas Theodora's Tea Shop is my heart and soul in written form. It is the culmination of over a decade's worth of work and learning, the half a postgrad I did, the fact fact that I committed to rewriting the book with every draft so that I could learn. And I have pictured the moment of getting my book deal over and over since I was very, very little. And this is such a silly anecdote, but ever since about 2018, I have fixated on this idea of me receiving a publishing deal while stepping onto or off of an airplane. This is way too specific. This is incredibly unrealistic, completely ridiculous and silly. I am so aware of that. But for some reason, I just pictured it every single time. And so we went on submission, and amazingly, immediately after, we got in an airplane to go to Cairns. And so I was like, oh my God, maybe this is it. I checked my phone, nothing. Had the trip in Cairns, flew home, checked my phone, nothing. Landed in Tokyo, checked my phone, nothing. I knew that this was a really silly fixation to hold on to for about 7 years, but then again, aspiring to become an author really is an act of silly, defiant hope. It really is an act of faith. However ridiculous or unrealistic or naive, my biggest dream has always been to become a novelist. My biggest dream is to become a published author. And so we took the flight home from Japan. That is my biggest dream and biggest goal. I would love to be a published author. And oh my God, I felt so heartbroken. Biggest dream is to publish a book of your own. Monica, yes, very, very much. It was an overnight flight from Tokyo to Melbourne. My biggest dream is to become a published author. Basically, I've never wanted anything more. And in spite of everything, I kept checking my phone. And my biggest dream is to publish a novel. It was 7 o'clock in the morning and I hadn't slept a moment, and I was standing in line to board the final flight home to Adelaide. My name is Christy Ann Jones. I am 19 years old. The thing I want to be most in life is an author. Hi Christy, exciting news. I was so impressed by her world building, the quality of her writing, and the strength of her voice. Our whole team absolutely loved it. We think Christy has created something really special, and we would love to work with her to see this book delivered into the hands of readers here in Australia and New Zealand. So, we got a book deal. And I read this email literally as I was getting on the plane, and I was trying to get my boarding pass, and then this just popped in and the text display just came up, and I read the whole thing in one go, and I just kind of froze. And Tyler scanned his boarding pass and he went in, and I was just like panicking, quickly got up my boarding pass, scanned it, went through, boarded the plane, and I was just in disbelief walking down the little airplane vestibule thingy. I just started happy crying, and Tyler hadn't quite noticed yet, so I had this kind of moment to myself where I was just like, what the what I just handed my phone to Tyler and let him read it. And I sat for that whole hour and 20-minute flight from Melbourne to Adelaide, and just with the stupidest smile on my face. I think I'm just in shock. So today is Friday. It's the very last work day of the year, which, if you remember from the querying video, is the day I signed with Bailey. And so I think technically it'll be a full year in 2 days' time, but almost exactly a year to the day we got an offer. I'm gonna wait until there's a contract signed before I really run away with this. They've said some really beautiful things about the novel. They're excited to work on it. They love the book, and they've offered a deal formally, which means that this project is not gonna die on submission. But we did it. Oh my God, the publisher who's offered on the book is a major publisher, a really big publisher, and if no one else offers, that's totally fine. This is an amazing publishing deal, and I really can't believe, I really can't believe that this is real. Oh my God, you guys are gonna see this vlog! The whole time I've been like, oh, they're not gonna see it, it's fine, it doesn't matter, I'm just making this vlog for no reason. Here we are, guys, you're gonna get to see this vlog, and this novel is gonna get to be published. Yay! But just to give you an update on how I feel about everything, it doesn't feel real at all. I got that email as I was getting onto an airplane. I can't believe I manifested that into existence. That is so funny. I can't believe it. I can't believe any of it. And I'm not really expecting to hear anything until like mid to late Jan. The offer for Australia is a good offer, and we'll see if we get an offer at all from America and the UK. I could get an email at any point. It's absolutely maddening. There hasn't been any more movement aside from the fact that I've heard that the team is really excited to do the contracty stuff and move forward. And right now my agent is in the process of organizing a meeting with them, which is really cool. And I think the thing that I need to do now as a writer who is waiting and waiting and waiting and sick of waiting, my God, I'm so sick of waiting. It's the end of January. I need to write a new book. Negotiations are currently happening. Whenever I see my loved one, they're just like, oh, how's the book going? Have you got that? Have you got everything sorted? And it's like, no, still don't. Well, that's surprising. It seems like we might have an auction for the novel. What the hell? Okay, that's so... Seems like we now might have a three-way auction. A three... What? How? Hilariously. Wait, Tyler. One of these is...
I know, I did say that.
So, a number of years ago, I flew to Sydney to interview for a job as a marketing assistant at a major Australian publishing house. This was just after we came home to Australia after living in Japan and didn't get the job. But that same publishing house just offered to buy my book. Those are three of the biggest publishing houses in Australia. Nah, that's not real. That's not gonna happen. No. And so, so I don't know if you remember, but that's where I interviewed in Sydney, where I didn't get the job. But back in 2018. Yeah, I super duper excited to be chatting to you guys, and I have a whole bunch of questions, so I don't want to bombard you, but yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I suppose like to kick off with, kind of wanted to ask like what like drew you guys to the book. Yeah, lovely to meet you too. That was so cool. The enthusiasm feels alien because I'm so used to getting rejections on things. Publisher C has made an offer. When I was pitching this book, I think I used the word cozy about 8 times, which the team has been teasing me for, but there really is no better word to describe the feeling of reading this book. I absolutely love the strong female friendship, the found family, and the coming of age / coming into your own elements of this book. It's wonderful to see that even though romantasy is trending, a story can just be as powerful without a romance narrative. Little update from me, I feel like I have gone through such a learning journey here with all of this stuff. I feel so much more at peace with whatever happens. Anyway, I just got a email from my agent. It's almost 11 AM, so it must be pretty late her time. Oh! Yes, hello, that is the sound of me reading an email to explain that Publisher C had brought on board a UK publisher for this deal, which obviously made the advance quite a bit bigger. None of this feels real. They've said that they're looking at publishing the book in 2026, which is next year. So they've requested a meeting for Wednesday for one publisher and a meeting for Thursday. I'm reading the pitch deck and they've put a bunch of artwork in the pitch deck, which is really, really cute. So the meeting is in 2 minutes. Good, thank you. How are you? She was really, really lovely. But this is not just my decision to make. I don't know, again, I'm just happy that I'm doing this at 28 years old with a commerce degree and a marketing career and 3 years full-time as a content creator and all of this experience. I am so privileged and so lucky to have such a breadth of experience in my life so far. I was a teacher, I've lived overseas, I've traveled widely, I've done all this stuff, and so it's like with all of this context, I feel like I have the confidence to kind of hold my own in those kinds of meetings and to not be dazzled, and like I want to run away with the fact that this is so cool and this is so exciting, but I do obviously still have the back of my brain. I know it wouldn't be the back of your brain because that's your reptilian brain, that is all like your instincts and stuff. It's the front of your brain, the smart part of your brain, your frontal lobe, making all those logical decisions. The front of my brain is saying ask questions about marketing and things like that. To say thank you for such a beautifully comprehensive plan. You've all communicated that so well. So I suppose like my biggest and most burning question would be what would be the editorial vision for the book? That meeting was so wonderful. This publisher, the Australia UK publisher, they really want the book. They have little bios from all of their staff saying what they thought about the book. I got to see people's reactions to the book. Like, it's just, they have shown such boundless enthusiasm for this story. Like, I don't really know what to do with it. Like, I'm kind of used to hearing the criticism. I'm not used to hearing people saying that like, oh, they loved it and they loved the characters, and you know, it was, yeah. The team were lovely. I loved them. They were great. I love everything they've shown me so far. Right now, they seem like the very obvious choice. My novel, Project Teacup, went to auction. After a hotly contested international auction, Christy Jones's debut novel, Theodora's Tea Shop, has been sold to Hachette Australia and headline imprint Wildfire in a joint acquisition. So in the end, we did end up going with publisher C, which was Hachette, which is the same place that I went for a job interview back in 2018. There's so much of this that feels really fortuitous and fated. I could not be more thrilled to be working with Hachette Australia and Wildfire to bring this book to readers. It's so exciting. They're such a beautiful team. My plan for the last like 10 years, I don't even know how long, there's this Chinese food place that I really loved as a kid, and I don't mean like gourmet. What I want on a soul level is suburban Australian takeaway Chinese, and I want to go to this specific place that I haven't been to since I was a kid. And one of the problems with getting Chinese food is that you have to order each particular dish separately, just too expensive. And so the plan is that the day I sign a publishing deal, we're gonna go to this Chinese food place that I loved when I was little. It was my favorite place to eat. Star of the show is the satay beef. So we are waiting, we are waiting, we are waiting, we'll keep waiting. It is the 30th of April right now, and like, we haven't announced anything. I haven't been able to say anything. I'm getting the getting the vibe from comments and from messages and stuff that people definitely think Project Teacup has failed, which is funny. People have been really kind. They've been like writing really encouraging comments to be like, Christy, you'll get a book deal one day, which is so beautiful. I suppose my biggest update is that we now have the date that the book is going to be coming out. The release date for my book is going to be July 28th, 2026. Today is currently May 30th, and I finally, yesterday, received the draft contract. My novel, Theodora's Tea Shop, which is an adult fantasy novel, a 1920s inspired novel about two women named Theodora and Dot. Theodora's a witch who works in a tea shop, and the tea shop is this kind of underground syndicate peddling magic in a city where magic is illegal, and Dot is from a very small seaside town. She travels to this city to find the witch Theodora because she wants to learn magic. I have spent the last 5 years-ish on this book, and it is the best thing that I have ever made, and I'm still a little bit in shock that we got a deal. Today is the 10th of June, 2025. It is now 12:17 p.m. and my final contract has just come through. And I'm gonna sit here and read through it one last time, and I'm gonna sign my contract for my publishing deal, which means that tonight we're gonna go on a big drive to go get Chinese food. Okay, give me one moment. I have thoroughly read through this whole thing again. I realized I just forgot the appendices. Yes. Oh my god, guys. Oh my god. Sign. Adopt and sign. Sign. Finish. I didn't expect it to make that noise. Yay! Oh my god. What the absolute ever since I started querying, this journey has been very emotional and challenging in a way that I've never experienced before. So it has just been this huge ordeal, this kind of crunch time to see if this dream was going to come true with this book. Now, Theodora's Tea Shop has been my heart book. I am going to get to walk down to my local Dimmicks and see my book on a shelf. I used to walk into that Dimmicks. They've moved locations now, but when I used to work in marketing and the arts, I used to go 2 or 3 times a week on my lunch break to that Dimmicks, and I used to walk up to the fantasy section every single time I go find the spot where my books would be. Somewhere roughly between N.K. Jemisin and Robert Jordan. Beautiful spot to sit. We did it, and now I have a lot of video editing to suddenly do, and I'm gonna have edits to do on this novel. We've got a few things to organize. What an absolute journey this has been. I've been writing novels since I was 16. I've been dreaming of this since I was 5 or 6 years old. Okay, sorry, Tyler is calling me because I just messaged him to tell him that I have signed my contract. But yes, anyway, I just wanted to say a massive, massive thank you to all of you for being here. We did it. We got a publishing deal. My novel is coming out next year. I would like to once again circle back to the fact that I manifested me getting a publishing deal as I was getting onto a plane. The fact that somehow I managed to manifest that is just beautiful and bonkers and so silly. The fact that we ended up going with Hachette, which is where I interviewed back in 2018, and the staff were beautiful and the office was so lovely. When I pressed post on the video last week that you guys saw, I just had this huge cathartic cry. Like, it was just huge, and this is such an enormous thing for me. Getting to sit back and watch all of your comments and all of your enthusiasm, it's just been such a privilege and such such a joy to make these videos and to share this process with you. This vlog ended up being a really important mode of catharsis for me. It's been a huge mammoth thing to edit. I don't actually know how much raw footage this file is. I'll put up the number here because as of the point of filming, I'm too scared to pull all of it into Premiere Pro because I think it's going to crash everything. I'm also scared that rendering this is going to kill my computer. We'll see how we go. And Hachette and Wildfire have been such a dream to work with so far. They've been so enthusiastic. They've been so beautiful. Like, I couldn't be more grateful and more happy about all of this. So I just want to send out gratitude in basically every direction. And also particularly, I'd like to thank my agent Bailey for all of her support and her hard work and her amazing feedback. And also a thank you to Dorothy, who is the international agent at my agency. It's amazing that her name is also Dot. That was beautiful. And also particularly to Anna at Abner Stein. But there are just so many people to whom I'm grateful. Also Tyler, the biggest support imaginable. He's read so many drafts. He was so supportive. He's been here for everything. That I could not ask for a more beautiful or supportive partner. I've realized that I've basically just given my Oscars thank you speech. Next week, I'm probably going to be posting a life update video because there's been so many things going on that I need to update you on. But yeah, essentially, thank you for being here. This is such an exciting new chapter for me as a creative person, as a writer. I cannot wait for Theodora's tea shop to be on shelves. It is now available for pre-order. It's also available to add on Goodreads and Storygraph. And finally, before I go, I wanted to say the biggest thank you imaginable to everyone on Patreon, because without Patreon, I genuinely wouldn't have had the time that I've had to write this book. Over on Patreon, we have a whole bunch of bonus content, bonus videos. We have our book club. I post writing updates over there. And so a huge thank you to everyone over there. And also, if you'd like to check out Patreon, there's a link in the description down below. Please feel free to pre-order Theodora's tea shop or add it on any reading platforms you like. Take care, everyone. I can't believe we did it. Bye-bye.